Hey guys, hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year's holiday. After taking last week off, it's kind of good to be back with you guys and hopefully bring you some news, give you something to think about. Got my Alabama hat on. We're going to play Georgia Monday and hopefully we're going to win another national championship. But let's get right to it. We got a lot to get caught up on. And I had to pick some things, as you know, there's just too much going on. But one of the best stories I saw this week was from the Western Journal. Hopefully you guys have been seeing about this on the news. But a federal judge in Texas granted a temporary injunction to 35 Navy SEALs seeking a religious exemption to Biden's vaccine mandate. I don't know what these guys were thinking. If you know anything about the Navy SEALs, it takes over 2 years to get one trained. So if you were going to let 35 of these guys go, are you crazy? Do you realize you don't just go to Walmart and get 35 Navy SEALs? So this federal judge obviously took that into consideration when he put this injunction on it. But this is what we need to know. As of last Friday, 3,247 Marines had requested a religious exemption. You know how many got it? Not one. The government has granted 0 religious exemptions. That goes for the Marine Corps, which I have the numbers of, and also the Navy. It's just unbelievable. But listen, this is a great step forward, but listen what the judge said. This is what is so awesome. This is what I wanted you guys to hear. The judge said, quote, "The mandate does heavily burden their religious beliefs, and the government has not shown that it's the least restrictive way of ensuring a healthy fighting force. The Navy service members in this case seek to vindicate the very freedoms they have sacrificed so much to protect. The COVID-19 pandemic provides the government no license to abrogate those freedoms. There is no COVID-19 exemption to the First Amendment. There is no military exclusion from our Constitution." Now, the U.S. Judge Reed O'Connor deserves a big hoorah. That is exactly right. 26 states back in November filed lawsuits against the mandate. Remember, we talked about that. And the courts upheld those lawsuits. They put the hold on the mandates, right? Well, in December, Florida and Georgia filed separate lawsuits against the mandate. Lawsuits are popping up everywhere. Just this week, Texas filed another one. The Supreme Court has been asked to settle all of this. They kind of had to, all the states doing these lawsuits. And that's kind of what everybody was pushing for, obviously, was for it to go to the Supreme Court. Let's get a final say on it. Let's be done with this. Either yes or no. And the Supreme Court does not take emergency cases. I think there's been 2 or 3 in the history of the court. They take their time. They go over all this stuff. And there is no rush. But in this case, there was such a backlash nationwide that they had to do it. Actually, they started hearing the case today. Opening arguments were held today. I listened to some of the lawyers that were in there and said it was 4 or 5 solid hours of the justices just asking question after question. So we're probably going to get an answer next week. Like I said, these emergency cases do not happen often. So one way or another, it's going to be decided by next week the way it looks. What's going to happen? Who knows? I know the first thing that you may think is, well, all these different courts have upheld, the injunction on the mandates. All these courts have said that you cannot do the mandate, basically. But I wouldn't be so fast to jump on that. I hope you're right. I hope that we're all right on it. But right now, the latest survey showed that 40% of the United States is still unvaccinated. Okay? One number I saw on the survey showed where 23% of the people said they would not take the shot for any reason. That's about 1/4 of our population, right? Well, think about this. If the Supreme Court upholds Biden's mandate, you're talking about millions of people that will not be able to work or travel or do anything if they do not take the shot, right? Well, what happens if the court rules for Biden? If the court says, okay, Biden can put a mandate on everybody. So that's the only two options that we're going to have, okay? I don't want this to get confusing. Either the court's going to say Biden's mandate is legal or Biden's mandate is illegal. So if the Supreme Court rules it illegal, what happens to all these people that have been fired from their jobs already? Just, was it Monday? Yeah, the Mayo Clinic fired 700 of their employees for not taking the shot. 700. I think they got like 7,000 employees nationwide. So that's like 10% of their workforce they fired Monday. So what's going to happen? Can you imagine the lawsuits? If the Supreme Court says, this is illegal, you cannot do this, you're talking about thousands and thousands of lawsuits because they were fired. Basically, because it will be done illegally. The court system will be clogged up for years. You will never get all of these lawsuits and all these cases settled. And see, the court knows that. That's what we have to remember. The Supreme Court, they're just people. And they look at real world. So they're going to look at this. And they're going to say, wait a minute. If we deem this thing illegal, we are setting up lawsuits that will last forever. I think they're going to take that into consideration. I think they're going to have to. What about all the military people that have been fired? What about all these people that have been discharged because they wouldn't take it? It's really a no-win situation either way, right? If the Supreme Court says that the mandates are legal and they can do it, millions of people are going to be out of work. Millions of people won't be able to travel. It's going to be a nightmare. Well, and then the other way, you're talking about never-ending lawsuits for illegal terminations, basically. So, in that case, it's really a no-win deal. I'm glad I'm not a Supreme Court justice, right? This is an awful, awful situation for them to be in. But we'll find out next week, it looks like. We got sticky notes everywhere. We got a lot of stuff. There's really just no telling what they're going to decide. That's the point I want to make, is don't get your hopes up either way. Because there's really just no way to figure out what they're going to do. It's just a never-ending saga, it seems. Think about this. At first, we were told that being fully vaccinated meant having either one of the Johnson & Johnson shots or two of the Pfizer and Moderna shots, right? That's what being fully vaccinated meant. This week, the CDC said that the technical definition has not changed. Fully vaccinated still means what it did mean. Okay, one or two shots, right? Then old flip-flopping Fauci came out on TV. Here's what he said. He gets all over the news, quote, "The term fully vaccinated is being replaced with up-to-date shots." So he's took it upon himself to change the definition of what being fully vaccinated means. He's went above the WHO, above the CDC. It's like this guy thinks that he rules the medical world and he can do and say whatever he wants to. So now, according to him, fully vaccinated doesn't mean that. It means up-to-date shots. And Moderna just came out trying to beat Pfizer. Pfizer said a booster every 6 months. Moderna came out and said, no, you got to have one every 5 months. So according to Fauci, basically, you're never fully vaccinated. You have to stay up to date. It's never going to end with this guy. And that's just what it looks like. You want my take? These people have no intention of allowing this pandemic to go away. They have no intention of it ever ending. Even in the face of factual science that most people are not paying attention to. Listen to this. Stanford, very well respected university, right? Stanford out in California. Their professor of medicine is Dr. I'm going to butcher this, Jay Bhattacharya, says, quote, The end of the pandemic will be a political decision, not a medical one. And that's on Fox News. You can find that. I think is exactly right. It's got nothing to do with medicine anymore. It's all political. Western Journal. Dr. Robert Malone. I brought him up before. Remember, he's one of the inventors of the RMNA technology. Dr. Robert Malone said, quote, "This Omicron variant looks like a Christmas present. It's so infectious, it's blowing right past all the vaccines, but so mild that only 10 people worldwide have died from it. And it's spreading natural immunity to everyone who gets it. This variant is acting like the kind of vaccine scientists might design on purpose. This is about as good as we could possibly hope for in the terms of outcomes." Wow. Blaze Media. NCAA guidelines this week. You know, the big basketball tournament, March Madness, is coming up. Big money, big basketball. But the NCAA announced this week that natural immunity from COVID equates to being fully vaccinated. So some people are waking up. Now, whether the NCAA just wants to make a lot of money, I don't know. But what they're saying is, if you've had the virus and your body has built an immunity to it, that is equal to getting the shot. That's what the NCAA says. So why are we not being told this kind of information on the daily news, right? Well, that's an easy answer, because they want people to stay fearful. They want Big Pharma to keep making their billions so they can get their cut of it. That's just the truth of it. This is a part of it that we don't really want to accept, but it's the truth. They want people to stay dependent on the government. They want people to look to the government to save them, right? Let me give you some more headlines. Did you know that you can go on the CDC website and find all this information? It's totally contrary to what they're telling us, but people don't take the time to go look this stuff up. CDC website shows that 10% of all COVID deaths are from the fully vaccinated. I know that 90% is not, but you have to remember that these shots are not fully protecting people like they think it is. 10% of the deaths are from fully vaccinated. Dr. Chauncey Crandall, he's the head of the Palm Beach, Florida Medical Clinic. He reported yesterday on Newsmax that 70% of all COVID patients in his hospital are fully vaccinated. Wow. It's not really working like they hoped, is it? 70%. But you're not hearing that. You're hearing the other side. That's what I hope that I can get you guys to do, is do a little research and think and look at both sides of an argument. It's not always one-sided. There's always two parts to every discussion, right? Now, one good thing is coming from this virus fear. I don't know if any of you guys keep up with this. I really don't. But the Grammy Awards in Los Angeles has been postponed indefinitely due to Omicron fears. You can find all this on Variety.com. They keep up with all the entertainment stuff, right? Now, what a complete waste of time this whole mess is. Musicians voting for other musicians. That's what the Grammys are. You know, anybody that knows me will tell you, when you get in my vehicle, you may hear any kind of music. I like to listen to anything. I listen to a variety of stuff. I really want to be well-rounded. I want to listen to some of the new stuff and all kind of different genres of music, because I want to know what's going on, you know. I want to keep up to date on stuff. But I'm going to tell you, it gives me just a good feel for things. But some of this music, I can't even listen to one complete song. It is so vulgar and so filthy that I can't do it. And now you have this entire Grammy promotion that promotes this type of filth. I think it's a good thing they canceled it. I think it should stay canceled forever. That's my opinion on it. But they also, no audience will be allowed at the Golden Globe Awards. So maybe this is something that from now on they'll just do away with. But TheVerge.com reports on, I found this interesting. If you remember, what was it, last year we were talking about the 5G towers and all the 5G stuff that was going on. Well, on TheVerge.com you can find this, how AT&T and Verizon have agreed to a 2-week delay in launching their full 5G network over fears that the airlines have expressed on this new technology that's interfering with the safe operation of their aircraft. Now what it's doing, it's called the altimeter, whatever, but it shows the elevation of the aircraft, right? So what this 5G is doing, to where they're looking at it, if they say they're at 5,000 feet, they could actually be at 500. You're talking about airplanes crashing, not being able to land right. It's a big deal. So the airlines were throwing a fit, and so they've agreed to postpone the whole thing for 2 weeks. It just really makes you think back to last year when everybody was freaking out about this 5G technology. They might have been onto something, right? May not be as far-fetched as we thought. See how that turns out. Something else that has not went away. We talked about this a while back. It's on Blaze Media also, but some progressive lawmakers are pushing to add 4 more justices to the Supreme Court. Here we go again, right? They want to pack the court. Remember we talked about that. They're calling themselves the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and they're pushing this thing they started last year, the Judiciary Act of 2021. Quote, after thoughtful consideration, the Progressive Caucus membership has determined that the urgent work to restore American democracy must include expanding the Supreme Court. Really? Let me put this in common English. They don't like the conservative slant that the Supreme Court has now. They want it more liberal, and they're worried to death that they're going to lose some of these elections in November. So they're trying to get their agenda pushed right now by packing the court, by putting more liberal judges in there. That's what they want to do. They don't want to worry about the Congress or the Senate. They don't want to worry about silly elections. They want all their plans pushed forward through the judiciary branch is what they're trying to do. I kind of thought it had died down some after last year, but they're still pushing it. I don't know if it has much legs to it. I don't know, but they're not letting it go. I think this kind of stuff will continue. I've been warning about this for a year or two. This is going to continue all the way up until the November elections. It's not going away. Not one bit. They might actually pull it off, you know. Here's the problem. Same thing with this silly Voting Rights Act that they keep trying to push and act like it's such a good thing when it's actually awful. They keep trying to push this mail-in ballots. No way to verify any of them. They're not letting that go. And just remember, if they get the Supreme Court packed, if they get this Voting Rights Act passed, there will never be another conservative person elected at the state level or the federal level. It'll be over. And they know that, and that's what they're doing. Elections won't matter anymore. I don't know if they're going to get it or not. You would hope not, but you just don't know. And I don't know how many of y'all are keeping up with this. Remember when Trump was in office, the big thing was, how many judges that he was getting confirmed, and how he was doing such a good job. A lot of people wanted to overlook his mean tweets because he was putting a lot of conservative judges in place. Well, Biden is getting a lot of judges confirmed too. People aren't talking about this. They want to keep it quiet. Elections have consequences, and he's confirmed more judges in his first year than Trump did. CNBC has a good report on it. But in Trump's first year, he put 12 judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals and 10 in the U.S. District Courts. Okay? 12 and 10. In Biden's first year, he's put 11 on the U.S. Appeals Courts and 29 in the U.S. District Court. That's a big deal. That's a lot of judges he's putting in place. He's changing the court system for years and years. Remember, these federal judges are appointed for life. So if you can get you a good young liberal judge, he may sit on the bench 30, 40 years. And so it's really a big deal. And a lot of people aren't talking about it. Some medical news that I found just absolutely awesome. Researchers at Penn State University have developed a nanomaterial that captures the excess chemotherapy drugs that damage healthy cells. This is awesome stuff. But physphys.org has a report on it. But to simplify it, now what chemo does, the chemotherapy drugs do a good job of attacking cancer cells, right? But they also attack the healthy cells that are around that, and that causes all types of problems for cancer patients. So what this new technology is doing, it's actually keeping the cancer killing drugs on the cancer cells. It's not letting it leach over into healthy cells. This is awesome. This is good stuff. And let's just pray that it continues to work like it has been as they expand this trial. This is good stuff. This is something else we need to be made aware of. InterestingEngineering.com. China has been experimenting with a nuclear fusion reactor called tokamak, and they hope to basically create limitless energy. Listen to some of these details. This week they reached 216 million degrees for 17 minutes. Let me give you a little perspective about this, okay? Now you can read more about this on that website, Interesting Engineering. Let me give you a little perspective. The sun is 27 million degrees. The atomic bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima was 7,200 degrees. And this thing is 216 million degrees. It's just unfathomable, really, when you think about it. But you got Bill Gates, who's working on his own little part of it. That makes me sick to just think of that. If he's got a hand in it, I don't know. But just think about this. What happens if this Star Trek stuff kind of goes sideways on these guys, right? You're talking about devastation that you have no way to describe. When you think about the atomic bomb that was 7,200 degrees, and then this thing over there is 216 million? Oh, my goodness. And NASCAR has refused to let driver Brandon Brown paint LGB on his race car for Daytona. They say it's a derogatory euphemism. You know, let's go Brandon LGB, right? NASCAR probably just lost a few of the only fans they had left when they did this. I used to like it when Davey Allison raced, you know, part of the Alabama gang. And I love Dale Earnhardt. I love his rubbing, his racing mentality, you know. But then whenever they sent Tony Stewart to anger management because he didn't fit their corporate model, I lost all interest. I haven't watched it in a long time, but it just got way too politically correct for me. I saved enough time, I hope, because I really want to finish up with this story that is, you're not going to believe it. I don't think you will, but I'm going to give you where you can go verify this. You're not going to believe this story. If this is not a snapshot of how far into the sewer our culture has fallen, I don't know what is. Blaze Media has it. The headline: Transgender man and satanic minister gives birth after one night stand with fellow gay dating app user. I don't know if you followed all that. Let me try to explain. A transgender man that's a biological woman, okay? That's what that is. An actual female that thinks she's a man or wants to be a man, right? So she became pregnant after a one night stand on this gay dating app that she found. And he, you know, she calls herself a he, said having a baby is the experience most masculine that I've ever had. How is having a baby masculine? Are you seeing the mental corruption, the problem? We're not through. This person is 28 years old, describes herself or himself as a minister of Satan. She's a mental health worker and a PhD student. The person's last name is Shade, okay? So I'm just going to use Shade so we don't get confused. Shade said, I had all my friends following my journey and checking in on me, as well as the support of the online gay and trans community, and even the Satanic Temple of which I am a member. It gets crazier, just listen. Following the delivery of the baby, she had top surgery. And once she said, I'm through having children, I'm going to have the bottom surgery. And quote, I don't know how I'm ever going to explain to my daughter how I'm her mom and dad at the same time. You know, we can mark this off as, a person that really, really needs some help. This person is so confused, or, I don't know. But it's not an isolated incident. That's the issue. As crazy as this may sound to some of us, this is everywhere. And that's what we have to be made aware of. This culture war that has started, it's just getting worse and worse. It's just continuing to go down a rabbit hole that none of us thought it was even possible. But that's where it's at. I intentionally chose to not bring up any of the foolishness surrounding the January 6th anniversary of the riot in Washington that's been going on the last couple of days. Speeches were given, and most of it was pitiful. I think that Biden got up there yesterday and spent about 15 minutes blaming everything on Trump, and it was just hard to watch. No facts, no details. Not talking about the hundreds of people that are in jail without bond for trespassing. None of them have been charged with anything other than trespassing, and they're not even being given a bond to get out. Months and months in jail. They keep everything that Biden and Pelosi says is about trying to paint conservatives as some type of terrorist. They're intentionally driving a wedge between all of us in America. They're trying to do it. They try to drive a wedge between black and white, rich and poor, conservative and liberal, and that's their whole game plan. And I'm not going to be part of it. Had a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff going on overseas, and we'll spend our time next week talking about a lot of the stuff happening overseas, because it's a lot. We spent this whole time talking about domestic stuff, and we didn't get to half of it. But I want to leave you with a great scripture. Whenever you see all this foolishness and you see just this craziness, always go to scripture. Joshua 1:8 says, This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So let's just stay focused on the Word of God. Everything in this book is meant for our good. Let's remember that. Stay focused on trying to be more Christ-like, trying to tell other people about Jesus, and don't let this stuff get to you. Just try to laugh it off and know that we're one day closer to seeing Jesus. But thank you guys for listening. Hope I gave you something to think about. Y'all go to church Sunday, and by all means, y'all keep reading your Bible. Thanks, guys.